Okay, I'll just start. Good morning, everyone. I feel honored and excited today to share with you our latest research project on artificial intelligence and women's script, or in Chinese, also called Nüshu. This project is entitled Evaluating Impact of Artificial Intelligence Generative Technologies on Representations and Artistic Creation and in women's books, Nüshu. Firstly, I just want to share a bit of sort of pre-story about this project. This project sort of came to my interest because women's script is sort of a very famous intangible cultural heritage from actually my hometown near Guilin, China, and provide me a sort of unique lens to look at the culture and history of where my parent came from. And also, serendipitously, my mother was also part of the earliest research team that documented and studied this linguistic form in early 80s. Therefore, the subject matter is really important and irresistible, actually, for me. And I felt personal attached to that. And secondly, it is facing an increasing challenge of preservation, while what I sort of study in Singapore, sort of the digital form of art, also brings me back to this question of how this highly gendered and traditional cultural form can be preserved, promoted, and experimented with like today's art and technology. So we decided to choose AI art as our point of entry to studying women's script. So without further ado, I'd like to sort of an overview of my presentation here. We have picked out a few components to highlight the key points of a project. I will start with the author intro, the background, and the background regarding sort of history of Nüshu, the AI adaptation of it, the problem at stake vis-a-vis why we study this subject matter. This will be followed by our case study of AI Nüshu and our project, which applies AI generative technology to the Nüshu corpus. Subsequently, I will introduce our innovation, which is our sort of intervention and improvement we want to make on the Stewart Hall's and later Ross and Morley's system of encoding and decoding typology system. So we sort of modified and expanded that system to accommodate the situation of AI Nüshu here. Lastly, our conclusion will touch upon the benefits and limitations of applying AI technology to Nüshu. So next, I'll share a bit of our authors and team. I myself, a second-year PhD candidate in art design media at Nanyang Technology University, Singapore. As an artist, curator, and a critic and writer, I sort of specialize in Asian contemporary art history and theory. My co-author, Xiaolin Zhang, is a first-year PhD student in art history with a specialization in ecological and environmental art in the University of Auckland, New Zealand. And my corresponding author, Dr. Zheng, is a PhD graduate in computational media and arts at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. So I'll be presenting all this in behalf of my fellow team members. So to start with, we can have a look into the background where we research Nüshu. Firstly, the role of Nüshu is very important to both its native community and local society in China. It is a major tool of communication, of establishing and maintaining this sort of sisterhood of the native community of this little village in southern province, China. After attracted sort of interest and support from the government, which began to attach strategic importance to cultural development and impact, or so-called soft power in 1990s, and it gained a privileged status as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage, which was later um, it was integrated as an important element of Chinese culture industry and the politics, based on its sort of undertone of being arguably feminist, exotic, and esoteric. And it has been made a popular subject for commodity branding and production, as long as the powerful block of the political program of cultivating gender and family harmony in China, preserving Chinese tradition, and boosting the local tourism industry. However, the problem at stake here is that there is an ironic contrast between the soaring widespread interest in Nüshu and this sort of unstoppable dwindling literacy and understanding of it, or this contrast between the potential value of Nüshu as a unique example of linguistic and gender history and inevitable bleak reality of it as a dying system only to be kept barely alive by the museum or by academia. So this challenge also provokes us to wonder what is the significance of existence might be in the present day and how sort of cutting edge technology can um, sort of help preserve the legacy of Nüshu and put it into a sustainable project and put it in dynamic dialogue with other ideas and movement crucial to contemporary life to make it more relevant, if you want to think of it in that way. So therefore, there's new opportunity and challenge for the AI engagement with Nüshu. In addition, in a previous scholarship and practice regarding this matter, we found out that there can be summarized three technological engagements, three types of technological engagement with Nüshu. Firstly, Nüshu as a subject for documentation, Nüshu as a material for experimentation, and Nüshu as an object for aestheticizing. So the application of AIGC to Nüshu for us, it sort of combines all three aspects of this engagements. So subsequently, we're introducing the methodology case study here to investigate AI and Nüshu as an interdisciplinary project. During this case study, two aspects stand out. Firstly, there are four scenes of the project. So you can understand as the sort of the four steps of the project as well: comparison, sound incorporation, interactive writing, and immersive display. So that's sort of the four steps of the project of this art project, where specifically in the first scene, the author compares Nüshu and Chinese fonts to give users unfamiliar with this script a preliminary understanding. In the second scene, the author incorporates sounds to let the user experience the phonetic charm of Nüshu and interact with and learn from the features through gamification. And third scene encourages users to write virtually, fully allowing them to participate in creating Nüshu. The fourth scene immersively displays the text of Nüshu through particle effects, which makes users feel as if they had traveled to the era of ancient script in distant past. And secondly, two components also stand out in the production process of this project. There's this learning game and there's also this symbolic expression. So the learning game is the process wherein the two AI agents iterate the role of speaker and listener from scratch to eventually reach a consensus to obtain a sort of literacy in AI Nüshu. By contrast, the second component, symbolic expression, select 24 fundamental elements from Nüshu and transforms each newly created Nüshu character's 768 dimensional vector into uniquely 3D vector using principal component analysis. So overall, this project transformed Nüshu almost like reverse engineering and breathed new lives into this ancient esoteric form. However, this artwork also shows the limitations of AI adaptation of Nüshu. For example, um, for example, this generative experimentation still suffers from abstraction and simplification. More scrutiny needs to go into the input data of vocabulary and cultural diversity and subtlety associated with this form. Also, there's this missing human element and idealization of the reality of the sisterhood embodied by Nüshu as something non-hierarchical, which is also problematic because this project sort of idealistically we treat the data and treat the sort of the two agents as equal and non-hierarchical, which can be problematic if we compare that with sort of the anthropological reality of that form. And in retrospect, this AI adoption still has room for improvement or at least reconsideration in treating Nüshu as a subject for documentation and in making it a material for experimentation. The balance between objective documentation and subjective experimentation here is critical to the artistic preservation of Nüshu, which turns it into an object for aestheticizing with or without potential to produce transcendental philosophical value. So it's all about the sort of balance amongst the three. So therefore, our intervention is necessary, and we herein introduce an expanded system of decoding and encoding, which was more often used in media and television studies. This model can effectively examine how messages are produced, disseminated, and interpreted within media and communication contexts. There are a few innovations here we have made on Stuart Hall's and later Ross and Morley's model here. Firstly, we have changed the text-related message to image-related because of this transition from television to smart computers. We have also added the new categories of indifference we think could prevail in today's layman audience when they something that's esoteric or unpenetrable if they don't have the prior knowledge of it. We have also found out that as the image text, which is sort of the idea we borrow from JMT Michel, Nüshu characters will always generate negotiation for most audiences. And as another sort of result, we also found out that indifferent coding, when met with image indifference position, can actually produce a difference, which echoes our argument and presumption that the AI artistic adaptation of Nüshu can actually break the stereo situation and create new interest in the audience, which is sort of a public foundation for better preservation results. Yeah, so finally, you have come to the conclusion that there are benefits and limitations in applying AI art to preserving Nüshu. On the one hand, it can produce more quote-unquote negotiating positions in understanding Nüshu, and also more difference in how Nüshu is circulated as information, so that more nuance and generative power can be found in the preservation process, where this sort of process is both reproduction and representation. On the other hand, this application suffers extreme simplification and loss of gender identity. So for a project like this, and for identity as complex as women, will remain an issue that needs to be resolved by technology. In addition, it also remains questionable if we should really align Nüshu with a globalized feminist reading of our data and our algorithm, which can be misplaced or too generic. So to encourage further studies and supplement the current research we have, we think that AI Nüshu or similar projects should incorporate interdisciplinary approaches, such as incorporating anthropological field studies and sociological surveys or interviews to actually bring out the overlooked issue of women identity and other structuring details underlying Nüshu history and reproduction, which would entail a systematic collaboration with amongst artists, sociologists, and computer scientists. And I think that also sort of speaks to the revolving theme and value of the EVA conference here. That's pretty much about our project. And finally, I just want to thank you all for listening through, and I'll just open the floor for any questions or comments. Thank you.
Indeed, thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Miguel? No, indeed. Okay, well, thank you so much. And now we shall move on to our third paper. So this is the depth and